What's up, everybody? Back again for a little July fishing tip. July can be a little tricky. July's that month that those fish are finally got out there. They've been beat on a little bit. They're not chasing bluegill anymore. It's getting hot. It can get a little finessey, and we're going to talk about that. But before we get into it, I want to say a huge shout out to Deck. That's the in-truck storage system that I've had in the back of my vehicles now for several years. Big shout out for them for sponsoring this video, guys. Deck system fits in the back of my truck. I have all the storage I need to put my tackle boxes in here and organize everything properly. All my boxes, I can move those around depending on which tournament I'm going to. Also, depending on the time of the year. Hunting season comes around, I can take all my tackle boxes out, put all my hunting gear in. So it's a great addition to my vehicle. Keeps everything safe and secure, because when I close my tailgate, guys, they can't open these drawers up. So I close my tailgate, lock my tailgate, all my stuff is safe and secure in there, and I can put 2,000 pounds of payload on top of the Deck system, which is important. They make a deck for just about every single truck out there, so we'll drop a link in the description, guys. Go check it out, see if one fits for your truck. And they're also weather resistant. You do not need a cap on your vehicle to have a Deck system. They're weatherproof. The sun, the rain, all that stuff's not gonna hurt all your contents inside or ruin the box itself. So good stuff, thank you, Deck. Let's get right into the fishing tip, the month of July. You know, I'm sitting here looking around and it's like month of July, pretty simple really. Some big worms, some more big worms, some finesse worms, some other things that we're going to talk about. But first, let's jump right into it, okay? Number one thing that I'm going to throw in July, I probably catch more bass in the month of July on a plastic worm, and that's whether it's either on like a big shaky head or Texas rig application. Texas rig application right there, I'm going to throw the Guggen Baits Mondo worm, awesome worm. I'm going to throw like the red bug, plum color, etc. out offshore. I'm not throwing the black and blue too much. I just grab these out of my boat. But that right there catches those fish when they're offshore. Now, I'm going to match this up on a different size tungsten worm weight depending how deep I'm going to fish it. So if you're on a lake system that's not very deep, guys, you're going to want to throw like an 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce. Really, that's about it. Okay, just play around with it. You want it to be lightweight, especially if you have a lot of grass. If you have a lot of grass, you're going to throw that 1/8 ounce so it just kind of rides along that grass, doesn't get down in it. You don't want your baits getting down inside the thick grass, submerged vegetation too much in the summer. Those fish usually stay on top of it. It's hot. They don't want to get down inside too much, so they'll stay up above it, kind of suspended. Those lighter weights keep that worm just swimming along there. It's really good. So a lighter weight, the better. Believe it or not, you'll catch way more fish that way. Now, the one time that I will go to a heavier weight is when I'm offshore ledge fishing, like at Pickwick Lake, for example. We just left there last month, and I'm going to throw offshore, if I'm fishing, say, 15 to 25 feet of water, I'm going to fish anywhere from a 1/2 ounce up to a 3/4 ounce on my Texas rig. And I just want to keep bottom contact. I want to be able to fish it at a decent pace. Not have to sit there and wait for it to sink to the bottom every time I move it. I want to just bounce it along so I can feel the shell, the hard bottom. That bait's making a lot of noise, clanking into the bottom as well. That right there will get you a lot of bites. You could basically, if there was one lure to pick in the month of July, I'd say 10-inch worm could get you a lot of bites. Day in and day out, it would probably win just about any of the bait challenges right there. So now we're going to talk a little bit finessey on that, okay? That's where I'm going to throw a slim shake, okay? Either on a big shaky head like I have here. This is a Dirty Jigs. This is a 1/2 ounce, big shaky head with a big hook. I've got one rigged up actually right here. I like this head a lot, believe it or not. This is the 1/2 ounce head. I like it. And what I'm going to do with this slim shake, or I'll show you this other worm that I've got here. Oh, yes, sir. Right there. That's a big shaky head, guys. That's a 1/2 ounce head, but it's got a big hook on it. And that's what you want when you're fishing offshore on those ledges. I want to make a lot of bottom contact, especially if I'm fishing those shell beds. This big head makes a lot of commotion. It just makes those fish bite, you know. I'm not trying to take a lot of time letting that bait sink to the bottom. I want to get it out there, get it to the bottom. I'm going to throw it on anywhere from 12 to 15 pound line, fluorocarbon of course, and I'm going to rig it up on this is a 7-foot 3-inch heavy. This is the Pro Series, my favorite. I like this rod for all my worming applications. Really, really good. So I caught a lot of fish, actually caught a ton of fish on this at Pickwick just this last tournament. So that little dude right there will catch them big time, especially if they're not really into that 10-inch worm. If you need to downsize just a hair, that right there, the slim shake, is very, very good. I would recommend, and I didn't have my pin here, is putting a little chartreuse dipping dye on the tail Just give it a little bit of chartreuse on the tail. Makes a huge difference. All right, let's jump into the next bait. All right, spinning rod time, guys. When I'm largemouth fishing in July, I probably have more spinning rods on the deck of my boat than any other time of the year. This particular setup right here, and you've heard a lot of guys talking about it this year. It's funny how baits kind of go in cycles. Like there's always like a hot bait or two every year. The Nico rig is something that the bass have been really chewing a lot lately. Pickwick, we caught a lot of fish on a Nico rig. Caught it at Fork on a Nico rig. I mean, it's just kind of, it's turned into almost like you could almost fish it year round, but it's a really, really finessey kind of unique bait. What is a Nico rig? Well, it's a finesse worm, which I have rigged up here on a Slim Shake, green pumpkin, the same one I put on that big shaky head. And I have it rigged up on a little Nico hook. This is a little 1/0 Nico hook. Got a wacky worm ring right there, okay? And we've got a tungsten nail stuck in the end of it. So that all the weight is right there. And I'm gonna hook it like that, and this bait goes down to the bottom and it hits the bottom like that. And as you shake it, it's really got a lot of crazy undulations. This thing's wiggling like crazy. The head's making a lot of noise on the bottom because that thing's just hitting the ground. And it's just, it's a action, and it gives that worm a look that these bass aren't that used to seeing. So that Nico rig right there will catch them. Some things that I like to do on the Nico rig is picking the right size weight, obviously. And I don't know, these little weights are super small, like 3/32, and even smaller than that. So the best thing to do is just get a feel for it. You know, I like it a little heavier than I do lighter, because again, I want it to get down there. I want it to stay on the bottom. I really want this thing to just do this the whole time as I'm jerking it along. I don't want it coming way up in the water column and then coming back down every time I lift it or shake it. So I want enough weight, and sometimes you just got to play with it and just see. You can kind of tell how heavy it needs to be when you start fishing it. If it's a little light, just add a little bit more weight to it and get it down there. So what I like to do on line with this thing is I'm gonna rig this up on a spinning rod with 10-pound braid to a 8-pound or even 6-pound P-line tactical. 8-pound typically, just 6 pounds a little risky. And you just get more bites on that light line. I don't know why it's exactly that way. I think it just allows that bait to really work properly in the water. It gives that bait a lot of action, and that they just bite it better on that lighter line. This is a jackhammer rod from Favorite. This is literally my favorite series of spinning rods ever. This is a 7-foot medium right here. It's a really great Nico rod. Got it rigged up on a little Shimano reel. This thing right here, it's just lightweight and balanced. The jackhammer series spinning rods from Favorite are honestly the very best spinning rods I've ever used. Like legit the best. I've caught bass all over the country, smallmouth, largemouth. I've caught 10-pound largemouth on them. I've caught 6-pound smallmouth on them. These things, they're awesome. They're very well balanced. Cannot say enough about this jackhammer series. They're a little on the pricey side, but they are worth it. They're durable, they hold up. And guys, I don't love fishing with a spinning rod, to be honest with you. So I like everything to just feel really good. And this setup feels really good. All right, drop shot. I bet you thought I was not going to mention that. Drop shot is an absolute must-have in July. Between the Nico rig and the drop shot, those are my two ultimate finesse type stuff. And then again with your worms, you're going to throw the 10-inch Mondo. You're going to throw the more finesse on the big shaky head. That's my worm setup for sure. My drop shot setup is very similar to my Nico rig. Same kind of rod, exact same rod actually, same reel, same 10-pound braid, same 6 or 8-pound line for my leader. Sometimes 10, just kind of depends. You know, again, I don't know why line size makes that much difference, but it's like if you fish 8 versus 10, you will get more bites. If you fish 6 versus 8, you will get more bites than 8. But there's a trade-off there, right? I mean, if you're fishing around big fish and you're fishing with 6 and around brush piles, you're liable to lose some fish or have some fish get off, and there's a trade-off. You've got to make that decision. But in tournament situations, that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about. Like, can I sacrifice losing 1 big fish a day if I'm going to get an extra 10 bites a day? It's that kind of stuff I'm thinking about. But for the most part, 8-pound will get the job done no matter where you are. You can rig this up Texas rig like I have it here. This is weedless. If I'm around a lot of brush, a lot of cover, I'm going to rig it up on a weedless hook. If I'm in an open water situation, spotted bass lakes and smallmouth fisheries where I'm not worried about anything getting hung up, I'm going to throw an open hook like a little 1 or 2-aught A little nose hook on the front of that thing. But, you know, pretty much a very basic setup drop shot. Here's the thing about drop shotting is make sure that you get the right size weight. Again, 1/4 ounce to 3/8 in that 15 to 20 foot range. Anything over 20 foot or high current, like at the St. Lawrence River, for example, we get a lot of current or a lot of wind, you can go up to a 1/2 ounce. Or if I'm dropping straight down on them, say 25 or 30, I might throw a 1/2 ounce just to get it down to them quick. But do play around with the size of the weight a little bit. If you're around a lot of fish and you're seeing them, you're not getting bit good, especially when you're dropping straight on them, the tip I can give you is to experiment with the weight. Sometimes as that bait falls slower through the water column, those fish look at it different. The bait actually falls different. It's not twirling sometimes, it's gliding a little more controlled. And sometimes those fish see it coming, especially in clear water. They see it coming, they're evaluating whether they want to chase it down and eat it, or they run up on it and they're evaluating it as it's going down. And that speed of fall will sometimes dictate whether you're going to get bit or not based on the weight. So if I'm seeing a lot of fish chase my bait down to the bottom and sitting there looking at it, not biting it, try going lighter, or vice versa. If they're following it down the whole time and not biting, go a little heavier. So play around with the size of the weight. It does make a difference, believe it or not, on how these fish bite a drop shot. It's just kind of crazy how that works. But so give out those tips here. Now let's jump into a couple ones that I like on real deep situations. Get away from the finesse stuff. We'll go a little power fishing in July. I'll show you some cool stuff. Before I get into this box right here, which we're going to talk about here in a second, I did fail to mention this big gigantic worm. Look at this thing, okay? That thing is 12 or 14 inches long. They even make them bigger. I have some 16-inch worms in my boat. July is the time of the year that you're trying to like just make that fish react. And sometimes throwing something super big like this, it's something they haven't seen, right? They've been probably used to seeing all the other stuff. They haven't seen this big giant worm, and it's like they're sitting there looking at it like, it's hot as crap down here. I'm tired, and there's this giant thing I can eat, and I can eat this and not have to worry about food for probably a day and a half. Let me just eat it. Sometimes these big worms work really, really good, but play around with it. It doesn't work all the time, but there are times these big, super oversized finesse worms will get a lot of bites. Just rig it up on this kind of head right here, or even a heavier one, like a 7/8 head, almost a 1 ounce head. Bigger the worm, obviously you need a little bit bigger lead to get it down. So, all right, here's what I pulled out. Check this box out right here, guys. This box right here is full of some stuff that's pretty darn cool. This is my box. I do need to organize this box a little better. It's been rummaged through a little bit lately because we did loose leaf pickwick. Hair jigs, all the different hair jigs, guys. That's one of the original ones that I've had in my box for a long time. I've caught a lot of fish on that exact hair jig at Kentucky Lake. Matter of fact, there's one right there, I believe, and you can tell it's really lost a lot of its luster with the feathers and the hair. But I almost won Kentucky Lake on that one. When I finished second at Kentucky Lake against Lambert, and he caught like 100,000 pounds or something crazy. He caught like a lot of weight. I finished second in the tournament. I caught him on that hair jig right there, amongst other things, Carolina rig and a few other things, but that exact hair jig. I like hair jigs. They're good for getting those bigger fish to react, especially when there's a lot of bait around. Offshore, of course, ledges, things like that, school of fish laying out there, current places. I'm gonna rig this up on, say, 12 to 15 pound line. I've watched some tutorials, you know, I've heard some guys give their fishing tip for hair jigs, and I'm not by any means saying they're wrong by saying this at all, because all lakes are different. I mean, you know, whatever. I personally, this is just me, and I've caught 1,000 bass, okay, on hair jigs. I've almost won tournaments on hair jigs. I like a 5/8 hair jig, 5/8 size. If I'm in, say, 15 to 20 foot of water. I also will go up to a 3/4 ounce if I'm above that or deeper than that. But I like rigging it on 12 pound line, guys. I just do. It casts good. It has a good fall rate. The 5/8 has a great fall rate on 12. It falls through the water column. Again, kind of talking about that drop shot. It's that drop shot speed where those fish react to that, how fast it's falling through the water column. The hair jig, in my opinion, is a little the same. As it's falling back, and as you stroke it up, it falls back down on the bottom at a certain speed. And that dictates between how heavy the bait is and how heavy your line is. if I'm fishing 20-pound line with a 5/8, that thing's gonna hover like crazy and fall super slow, and it probably even not even fall straight down like this. A 20-pound line, I bet it would fall like this and probably glide forward. It would just have a whole different look in the water. But the 5/8 with 12-pound line, when you reel it up real fast, I think it falls pretty much straight back down on those fish. Here's why that's important. As a bass is sitting there on the bottom, they're not normally this time of the year, they're not normally trying to just chase real far. It's a reaction bite. This hair jig's falling down right in front of them. When it falls right in front of them like this, they're more apt, or if it's falling maybe even barely hitting them in the face, they're more apt to bite it. It's right there. When it's falling like this at an angle, it's falling away from them every time it strokes up and falls down. It falls away from their heads. I don't think they bite it as good, personally. But that's just my opinion. 12-pound, that's what I'm going to throw. That's what's on this one right here. And again, I've caught big bags of fish on the Tennessee River on hair jigs. I like a high-speed reel. This is an 8-to-1 reel. I like a long rod, medium heavy action, kind of my crankbait rod, to be honest with you. And I'm going to throw that thing out there. I'm going to let it hit the bottom. I'm going to hold my rod at, say, 10 o'clock, and I'm going to reel probably 4 or 5 times. And then just let it fall. Dunk. And as I reel it, that bait's shooting up off the bottom. As I stop, it falls back to the bottom and hits. You'll feel it. You'll see your line. You'll feel it go thunk. So it's real important to keep your rod in a fixed position. Don't drop your tip. Don't move around a bunch of stuff. Don't let too much line lay on the surface of the water. Reel it up real fast and let it fall, and just kind of feel it go down. Like, guide your line down. You don't slow it down, but just kind of feather that line back into the water, and you'll feel it thump on the bottom. Reel it up again, thump on the bottom. Reel it up again, thump on the bottom. Then you'll get used to that rhythm, and then all of a sudden you'll reel it up again, and it'll thump before it gets to that normal thump. It'll thump different. Take off reeling again, lift up, and you've got a bass on. You don't have to set the hook hard. Just take off reeling like crazy, and that's why that 8-to-1 or a high-speed reel, for that matter, is very important on this technique. So that right there will catch them very, very good. And yeah, so guys, look, there's lots of things that work in July, but again, the ultra finesse type stuff, soft plastics, are a big part of my arsenal this month. The hair jig is a very big part of it as well. Look, if you get around some opportunities, don't forget about a big crankbait. Don't forget about a big swim bait. I mean, look, those type things, same things that worked in June offshore will work. It's just really what you're missing in July is a lot of your shallow stuff. That's really kind of all gone. Most of the fish are trying to get out to the deepest part of the lake that time of the year, and chasing bait, looking for a little current, looking for a little reprieve from the pressure. So guys, give these baits a shot. Thank you so much for watching this little tip series. We got a bunch of stuff coming down the pipe. We've got fishing tips coming. We're just going to try to feed you guys with a bunch of information. So do me a huge favor. If you like what you're hearing here, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so that way you get all of our videos. And we're just going to keep going through different baits. We're going to keep going through different techniques. Try to educate you guys on the proper ways of fishing. So thank you so much. Thank you for all the support, guys. Thank you, Deck, for sponsoring this video. We will see you later. Boom!